It's time for game night. A look at all of the high school football games set for this weekend across the central Susquehanna Valley.
Hello and welcome to week 13 of our Game Night High School Football Podcast. I'm Daily Item Sports Editor Kurt Ritzman. I'm joined as always by our lead football writer Todd Hummel. And this is the first week of state playoffs.
And we got a Class A game with Millersburg, Jersey Shore's over at Selinsgrove on Friday night, and a 4A game. I guess they count all these as technically as state playoff games, even though two of them are district finals.
The District 4 finals in Class 2A and 3A are technically first-round state games also. So let's take a look back. What stuck out to you from Week 12?
Talked a lot about last week about how improved Tanner Lorson was as a quarterback for Jersey Shore, and he did not prove me wrong last week. I think over 90% of their offense threw for 267, ran for another 118, and Jersey Shore's 33, 14 win against Selinsgrove in the District 4 4A final. I don't know why. I forgot who they played.
You were even up there.
I was not up there for Jersey Shore. But, he just played so well. I mean, there was a point in the game where Selinsgrove tied the game at 14 early in the third quarter, and it looked like that they were going to hang around, and actually that was set up by an interception that Lorson threw to Selinsgrove's Nick Schaefer. But he bounced back. They immediately marched right down the field, converted a fake punt, scored the last 25 points of the game, and really took control of that game in the second half.
I do think it's nice. I'll say nice to point out Selinsgrove did intercept 3 of his passes.
Yeah, and they kind of did the things defensively that they wanted to do for the most part for the first 2.5 quarters, but they just ended up on the field a lot, got wore down late. I think Selinsgrove had 1 first down the first game, the second week of the season, and I think ended up with 4 in this one. Jersey Shore committed a dumb personal foul penalty late in the second quarter to give Selinsgrove their first one. I think it was early in the first quarter early in the third quarter till they actually got a rushing first down against the Bulldogs. That came on a 60. It was about 65-yard Dean Hollenbach run, but if the way it went for the Selinsgrove offense, they fumbled on the next play. But that was when the interception came to tie the game, so it ended up working out for them. But in the end, the offense couldn't make enough plays to keep the defense off the field to stay rested enough to stop that Jersey Shore offense, which just flies real fast. Just goes real fast. It's going to be interesting to see how somebody from out of the area handles that.
Sure. The most interesting game for me following along in the office was Saturday night, Mount Carmel and Troy. The Red Tornadoes ended up winning 53-28, but it was 28-21 early in the third quarter. It felt like it could be a tough game for the Red Tornadoes.
And it seems like they had a little bit of problems with that Troy option attack. The Damian Landon kid went over 2,000 yards. I think it nearly had 150 yards in the first half against the Red Tornadoes. But after the score to make it 28-21 in the second quarter, the defense played real well. Didn't allow another. What did it end up?
53-28.
Yeah, and it didn't. Troy didn't score again until I think 52 seconds left in the game something like that. So the Red Tornadoes figured out that option offense on the road. I imagine it was incredibly cold up there. Did not look like either team threw the ball very much in that game. Didn't look like either team had to. Noah Brikowski had 100 yards. Shane Widener had 88 yards on the ground. Mount Carmel averaged over 10 yards per carry, and just didn't really seem to have a whole heck of a lot of rust later on in that game from the week off.
Tommy Reisinger, Mount Carmel's quarterback, ran for more yards than he threw for, to your point of not throwing a ton in that game. The other 2 games last week, Southern Columbia, you saw 42-0 over North Penn Mansfield in one of the fastest second halves of the season, probably.
Yeah, it was 42-0 at the half, and I think, they came out a little after 8 for the second half, and I think I was back here before 9:45. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it flew. You got to give North Penn Mansfield credit. They put a lot of effort into it. You know, Southern had that run in that first game where they scored 8 and 9 plays. That didn't happen this game. Yeah, Southern scored on their first 6 possessions, I think. Don't get me wrong, but somebody made the joke they had to actually run some plays to score, and there were some spectacular plays in that game when it was 42-0. Most of them provided by Gavin Garcia. And I talked to him a little bit about this. He has his style where he's willing to cut, run backwards, and it didn't work out a lot for him. It worked out sometimes for him last year, but it seems to a year older and a year smarter playing in a varsity seems to help him out. And I asked him to tell me a little bit about his running style.
Last year when you tried some of those cutback moves, it didn't work a lot, and it seems like this year, that stuff works. What did you learn between last year and this year, kind of when to do it and when not to do it?
Definitely just a feel. I feel like every time that I put my foot in the ground and make those cuts, like that, it's going to work out. Last year, sometimes they didn't work, but I never gave up on them because all throughout my young career playing football, I always was known for doing that stuff. And sometimes I'd lose, and sometimes I'd lose yards from it, and sometimes it'd be a work. But definitely works sometimes, and I'm going to keep doing it. So.
Was there, between the Montorzo run and the 2 tonight, is there anyone that was your favorite?
Definitely the one that got called back tonight was definitely my favorite. I felt like I juke some kids out, and then I put through a stiff arm on the one I was running down. And I was in my head I was so pumped.
And I was going to say that was more of a power one at the beginning too, wasn't it?
Yeah, so definitely not to see even myself. I kind of shocked myself when I threw a stiff arm or two. So anything I could do to increase my chances of getting the end zone. Yep.
My favorite thing from the preview of that game, actually, Harold Raker talked to North Penn Mansfield's coach for us, and he said his team was facing an impossible battle, and I probably used that 4 or 5 times over the weekend on Twitter or.
Life is an impossible battle sometimes.
And playing Southern is every week.
Yeah, and they run a spread offense. They were able to get a couple first downs late. It was already 28-0 when that happened, and they did drive into Southern territory. They made Southern work a little bit on offense at times. Coach Roth pointed out after the game about how much more they got out of this game than they did that first game against Towanda, where everything really came easy for them, and it came easy against North Penn Mansfield, but it didn't come as easy, and they kind of needed that this week because obviously Mount Carmel is going to be a step up in competition than these last 2 weeks, where I think I made the joke that the biggest competition they had was Southern had that was running down the hill to see who got the coats first for the second half.
The other game last week, Warrior Run saw its historic season come to an end with a 54-12 loss in a Class 3A semifinal to Montoursville.
And that kind of surprised me a little bit. Not that they lost, just how it really got out of hand quick for them. And, I think in the end, playing Montoursville close the first time might have hurt their chances of pulling off the upset because obviously Montoursville did not take them lightly at all and was able to roll up some yardage roll up yardage on the ground that they weren't able to do in that first game. I think the Palooza kid had at least a 95-yard touchdown run in the game. Riley Dalbert went over 1,000 yards for the season, 2,000 yards for his career. He ends his career as the all-time leading receiver at Warrior Run, so that's a great career for Riley Dalbert. That's a great way for those seniors to go out. They'll probably remember this loss for a little bit, but they get a little time to reflect. We talked to Jackson Welliver last year, Riley Dalbert and Remington Quarterman this year. Amhai Keys has played a big role for them. I'm afraid I'm going to forget David Gerhardt, the guys, some of those guys up front that were unsung, the defensive lineman Pete Reisner and. The shorter number 57 kid, he had the fumble recovery against Warrior Run. All those kids played real well this season. It's going to be interesting to see how Coach Long builds on that this year. They're going to have to replace a lot of talent that's played the last 3 and 4 years for them. So it's going to be interesting to see how God, I can't believe I'm saying this, 2020 turns out.
All right, that was our look back at Week 12. We're going to take a look at Week 13 after we hear from GDK Development, which is the sponsor of our podcast.
GDK Development of Shamokin is a proud supporter of all local and youth sports. The Welsh family has been in business for 37 years and thanks you for supporting them and their local businesses, including Bruiser Sports Grill in Cole Township and the Elysburg and Sunbury Burger King restaurants. Again, thank you for 37 years of support and good luck area athletes and teams this sports season from the Welsh family and GDK Development of Shamokin.
Okay, Week 13. Let's jump to Saturday. The two games featuring Valley teams that we're going to talk about are both Saturday. Your day's going to start 1 o'clock in Williamsport, where 3-8 Millersburg, off a bye week, after 2 weeks ago winning the District 3 title, faces 8-4 Muncie, who last week went on the road to Canton to grab the District 4 Class A title.
And they I don't want to say dominated that game, but Canton needed to rally to make that close and had a chance to win at the end. I credit Chris Massey for this little tidbit, but they've had 6 regular season losses in their district championship years, and they've beaten those teams all 6 times.
Wow.
In the district playoffs, 5 of those on the road. So that's pretty impressive. The Indians are one of the more. Oh, wait.
Which Indians?
Oh, no. I just realized it's my least favorite game, nickname versus nickname.
I know.
It's Muncie. Muncie is one of those teams that is right on the edge of our coverage area. And at the beginning of this year, 26-0 loss to Warrior Run. It's a real young team. Freshman quarterback, freshman leading receiver, sophomore leading tackler, junior tailback that did not play much last year, that it ran for 1,000 yards this year.
Wow.
So it's a team that's kind of grown into its championship role. Ended up being the 3rd seed, I think. Had to win 2 road games to win the district championship. It's a state playoff, so I don't think you can get away with taking. You can't hope that they take you lightly. So Millersburg's obviously going to have to be ready to play in this one. I wonder if Millersburg, just with the way they play offense, is able to score some points. We know that I almost said the Indians again, that Millersburg kind of struggles with teams that can run the ball well and have a real good offensive line. And Muncie has that with their 1,000-yard rushers. So, the Indians are going to have, Millersburg is going to have to figure out a way to stop the run a little better than they did in regular season. And honestly, against Fairfield, that kid had over 200 yards rushing in the District 3 championship game. I think Muncie probably wins this one, but for my sake, I hope I think it might be entertaining. I hope it is entertaining.
I think it definitely could be high scoring. Either way, nice for Millersburg.
Actually, yeah, could be the last game.
Could be their last game, or it'll be a state victory. So,
yeah. Either way, there's a story.
Exactly. Then 6 hours after that kickoff, headed to Elysburg for Southern Columbia and Mount Carmel.
Third year in a row
in the district final. They're starting to get Jersey Shore Selinsgrove numbers playing twice a year every year.
Yeah, it's getting to that point. Luckily, for Selinsgrove and Shore, it's not quite so one-sided. But, we talked when this game happened in the second week of the season. The Red Tornadoes talked a little bit about beating the Tigers and threw out some Drago and Rocky metaphors, and that did not go real well for them. I think they'll be a little quieter this week, but Southern Columbia. We always talk about Southern Columbia has not had to ramp it up in at least almost 2 weeks now. I mean, Danville took four turnovers, made them work real hard in that first half. So yeah, they really haven't had to ramp it up for 2 weeks. So it'll be interesting to see how they answer getting for the first time. It's the first time they're going to be hit real hard in a couple weeks too. It's not going to be as simple as running dragging 6 guys down the field. I don't think. Again, it's hard to go against the Tigers. This game was 49-0 in the first game. Mount Carmel's passing game this is where it's going to really come into effect, because I don't know. It's tough for teams to run on Southern Columbia. They really haven't had to do much many fancy things on defenses, as they've pointed out, just because the line has played so much better and has been so well that they really haven't had to blitz much, and they've been able to get pressure with 4 guys, and that kind of allows the four fast linebackers to run around out there. So I really think Southern Columbia probably wins this one in a fairly easy manner again. But also wouldn't surprise me. Remember the last, Mount Carmel's given Southern Columbia its biggest challenge in the last 2 seasons, and it wouldn't surprise me if this is close for a while again, just because talk about this all the time. Mount Carmel's one of those rare teams that don't walk out in the field and is already intimidated by Southern Columbia. And the winner of this one faces another former local team, the team we used to cover, the District 3 2A champ Upper Dolphin, which should bring a big crowd wherever that one's played next week.
Sure. Mount Carmel has a bunch of seniors who have felt like they don't get the credit they deserve. And here they are quietly 10-2, have wanted to beat Southern. I'm not saying they're going to do it. I made that mistake a couple years ago. I think Southern wins, but I think this is the first and maybe only game Southern plays that doesn't go into the mercy rule.
They would never say this, and they might say this in 20 years at the reunion, but I don't think they'd ever admit to it now or after the game. But that would be a win, I think. Well, not a win, but I think that would be the best possible outcome for most teams around here. And the last time we were talking about Mount Carmel going up against an unbeatable foe, they did win, but that was Bishop McDevitt, and I think that's almost 20 years ago with Rakai Nelson, who went to Notre Dame and ended up being a 6-0 game. But that'd be pretty impressive if the Red Death defense figures out a way to hold this Southern Columbia team to 0 or 1 touchdown.
Mm-hmm. 2 other games we want to take a quick look at, both Friday. Start with the one that's closest to us. In the Class 4A state first round, it's going to be played at Bowling Memorial at Selinsgrove. So if you're jonesing for some high school football Friday, you can go over Selinsgrove and watch Jersey Shore take on Bishop Shanahan. Shanahan's 7-4. The Bulldogs are 9-3, coming off that win over Selinsgrove.
I said in the when we were rehashing last week that I am interested to see how an out of the area team handles Jersey Shore's offense. This Bishop Shanahan team, you look at, it's 7-4, but 2 of their losses are Downingtown West and the Coatesville, who are in the 6A semis. Wow. They also lost to Downingtown East, who's a 6A quarterfinalist, and then to a 5A team in Chichester. Came into the District 1 tournament, I believe is the 4 seed or the 3 seed, and won both of their district games fairly easily. Again, the Bulldogs are a tough matchup, especially if you're not all that familiar with them. If you're watching them on film, it's hard to replicate how fast they run their offense. And the way they play defense with that 5-man line, it's going to be interesting to see how Bishop Shanahan handles that. Jersey Shore does not do well on the turf over at Selinsgrove, so I wonder how excited they are about playing over there. Just by schedule, I think Bishop Shanahan's probably a little bit of a favorite this one and probably wins this one. But should be a fun one over there, though.
So you're not taking Jersey Shore?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's Downingtown West and Coatesville in the 6A semis in District 1 is...
Well, sure. But they lost to them. Did you note if they were close losses?
They weren't that close, but Downingtown West and Coatesville are probably better than anybody that Jersey Shore played other than some Southern Columbia, I would assume.
Okay. Our other game is the District 4 Class 3A final. I believe it's called Battle of the Bridge.
Oh, when they play the rival, yeah, Battle of the Bridge.
Loyal Sock 9-3 headed to 11-1 Montoursville.
They are separated by a green bridge out on 180.
Okay.
This is one of I saw this is the most wins for Loyal Sock since 2013. I think it said, and they're perennially pretty good. I was a little surprised by that. Loyal Sock's probably playing as well as anybody in 3A other than Montoursville right now. And this game wasn't very close the first time they played. I think it ended up being in the mercy rule in the second half. I think Loyalsock's a little better. I think I don't think it's real close again. I really think Montoursville is a really good football team, and I'm really interested to see how far they can get in the state playoffs. I think again, I say this is going to be a little closer. Just this is a rivalry. I think Loyalsock is playing a lot better. I think Loyalsock is playing a lot better than they were when I saw them against Mifflinburg, and that was 5 or 6 weeks ago to start this win streak. It was a little disappointing to watch that game last week on TV though, and see how little people were at that Loyalsock Central Columbia game, especially on the Loyalsock side. So hopefully they get a big crowd out there from Montoursville and root those kids on. And I think they're going to lose some linemen, but Chase Kavanaugh and Damian Hill in the backfield will be back next year. It'll be interesting to see what Loyalsock can put together this next year. And I think this senior-laden Montoursville team thinks it has a shot at Hershey. 3A is going to be so tough. They're going to have to beat, on this side of the bracket, you're going to have to beat Middletown or Wyoming area and teams like that. And so I think Montoursville, Wyoming, Scranton Prep's 9-2 again in that district final. So that's who knocked out the Warriors last year. And it's been tough for our 3A champion to get past this first round. Get past that first round state game, or I guess this is the first round state game. Next week's state game when you're playing an actual out of the area team. But yeah, like I said, I think the Warriors get this one. It's a little closer than 49-13 or 49-14, whatever that first game was, though.
Okay. So that's our look at our Week 13 games. No game night section this week, but don't worry, Todd's still going to have...
I still have stuff to do.
Previews of our 2 local games, column picks. They'll all be in Friday's regular sports section. Both the games we cover are Saturdays, so make sure to pick up Sunday's regular sports section. Well, just get the whole paper. I mean... can't get just the sports section.
They still make you pay for full price.
Exactly. So make sure to check out our playoff coverage, and we'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching.
GDK Development of Shamokin is a proud supporter of all local and youth sports. The Welsh family has been in business for 37 years and thanks you for supporting them and their local businesses, including Bruiser Sports Grill in Cole Township and the Elysburg and Sunbury Burger King restaurants. Again, thank you for 37 years of support and good luck area athletes and teams this sports season from the Welsh family and GDK Development of Shamokin.